Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. If you've been feeling strange lately, detached, calm, or even mildly indifferent towards your divine masculine, remember you're not broken. You're not cold, you're evolving. So, a warm welcome to all of you guys, and a warm welcome to all new subscribers. And for those of you who have been with me through the start, and for all of you who have joined me, this is amazing. I'm actually amazed at how much our channel has grown in the last couple of months, and we have been building this beautiful community of fellow divine feminines. So, having said that, this is dedicated to the fellow divine feminines. I know this topic is going to be something that you guys will totally connect with. All right, so as I was saying, if you have been feeling odd, strange lately, very calm, very detached, or even indifferent towards your beloved divine masculine. You're not broken, you're not cold, you're evolving, because today's lecture is about a frequency shift that every one of us divine feminines eventually reach. The moment we no longer chase, react, or need validation from our divine masculine. It may feel like distance, but it's actually liberation. And that's why the title of this discourse says it all. You don't hate him, you've outgrown the version of you who needed him. I might tweak the title a little at the end of the discourse, but you know. So let's go deep into what that really means psychologically, energetically, and spiritually. The first illusion, the love and need are the same. That love and need are the same. When we first awaken through our beloved twin flame connection with our beloved divine masculine, our nervous system confuses intensity with importance. Every message, every silence, every micro gesture becomes a lifeline. We mistake emotional hunger for love and attachment for destiny. But love and need are not the same. Need is born from the wound, love is born from the soul. We don't fall for our divine masculine. We didn't fall for our divine masculine because we are weak. We fell for our divine masculine because our divine masculine mirrored a part of us that had never been fully met, the part that wanted to be seen, chosen, and validated. And when that reflection disappears, we don't just miss our beloved divine masculine, we miss who we were when we were with our divine masculine. And that's why letting go feels like death at first. And I can't exaggerate this even further. Like, totally, oh my god, even thinking about that separation that we go through the first time, where we are like existential, right? We're literally crying out to God, please liberate me from this pain. Like even death won't be a solution. That's how painful it is. But that's the thing, we are not losing our divine masculine, we are shedding an outdated version of our identity. So, outgrowing someone doesn't start with dislike, it starts with dissonance, right? We start noticing that what used to thrill us now drains us. We replay conversations and realize we were always the one giving depth while he responded with surface energy. We would remember begging the universe for signs when now we can hear our own intuition very clearly. Outgrowing means our nervous system no longer collapses at silence. It means our mind no longer builds fantasy bridges to keep the connection alive. It means we finally understand that love doesn't have to feel like survival. And here's the paradox: the more we grow, the less we need our divine masculine. And that's precisely what starts awakening our divine masculine. You see, that is the sacred paradox, isn't it? Because the moment we stop orbiting our divine masculine's field, he has to meet his own emptiness. An energetic detachment is not emotional coldness. It is, as I always say, nervous system coherence. When we are still entangled in longing, our aura is porous, right? Our thoughts about our divine masculine would feel like portals, constantly sending energy his way. Every time we replay the memory, we feel the energy tether. But as our consciousness rises, our field stabilizes. The heart stops leaking energy into illusion and our soul reclaims its spin. That's why we start feeling our absence before we even block or stop messaging, right? That's why, even before our divine masculine he actually starts to feel that's why he starts to feel all of this even. So what I mean by absence is vibrational, not digital. It's the quiet hum of our frequency pulling back to cosmic consciousness saying, I choose me now. And why does this phase feel emotionally flat? So many fellow divine feminines panic, right? When they hit the neutral zone, they think, did I lose my love for him? No. What you lost is the adrenaline rush of spiritual codependency. So, the early stages of this journey are marked by emotional highs and lows: dopamine, cortisol, longing, relief, collapse, and hope. It's like an addiction cycle masked as romance. When we start healing, that chemistry fades. We no longer chase highs, we crave peace. And peace to an unhealed nervous system feels boring at first. But this neutrality is sacred. It's the space where we integrate, it's where our soul reteaches us what love feels like without pain. So, in the beginning, our divine masculine mirrored our wounds, right? Now we mirror his. That's the mirror principle reverse. When we were in need, he pulled away, reflecting our abandonment fears, right? So when we heal and detach, our calmness reflects his fears of being left behind. This is how the polarity inverts. We are no longer the seeker, we have become the mirror of sovereignty. And that mirror is confronting for him because for the first time, he sees himself not through our devotion but through our neutrality. He realizes that our light was not dependency, it was devotion, and he mistook it for control. So, this is when the quantum shift occurs, right? The identity, death, and rebirth. So, we cannot move into the next octave of love while carrying the identity of the one who waits. Outgrowing the version of us who needed him means retiring the identity entirely. It means no longer defining ourselves by his absence. It means letting the old feminine archetype die, the one who measures a word by a man's readiness. Well, that's more 3D, right? So when this archetype dies, it feels like nothing is left. So we wake up and realize the entire love story was the cocoon, not the destination. And that's the phase, right, where you dissolve everything you once thought you were and something truer begins to take shape. And here's the higher truth: our divine masculine was never the reason for our awakening. He played a part. The reason is often us. So let's talk biology, right? the biology of ascension, the nervous system reprogramming, right? Our body is wired to associate attachment with safety. That's why no contact periods can feel physically painful. That's the reason why our system interprets separation as danger. So when we heal, we reprogram the wiring. We teach our body that safety now comes from truth, not proximity. So we start breathing differently. Our digestion stabilizes, our sleep deepens, our energy feel stops scanning for him. That's not detachment, that's embodiment. Our soul finally feels safe in our own vessel. And ironically, that's the exact vibration that magnetizes him back because the soul recognizes safety as home. So, being emotionally sober, this is the stage when our romantic projection dissolves. We stop seeing our divine masculine as our savior. We stop reading meanings into his every move. We stop performing emotional gymnastics to justify his avoidance. We finally call reality sacred. We look at the situation and say, I love him, but this is where he is, and this is where I am. And this is not resignation, that is reverence for truth. Once we reach emotional soberness, the field reorganizes. If he's meant to meet you, he will. Not because we begged or visualized, but because our vibration demands reciprocation. On a soul level, this outgrowing is pre coded. Our higher selves always intended for the connection to be the intention, not the end point. We came to earth to remember our wholeness, not to reenact karmic yearning. When we transcend the need of us, the needy version of us, right? When we transcend the needy version, right? We collapse multiple karmic lifetimes of chasing, waiting, and worshipping love outside ourselves. We start to feel differently as if the entire journey was designed just to return you to your own heart. That's when real union begins because true union doesn't start when we meet our divine masculine. It starts when we meet our own soul with complete acceptance. So let's shift to this perspective, right? When our energy detaches, our divine masculine doesn't interpret it as rejection. He feels it as silence from the divine. Our energy once acted as a frequency buffer between him and his pain. Now that we have withdrawn, he has to face his own void. That's when he starts questioning everything: his career, his relationships, his habits, even his sense of masculinity. He can't explain it, but something feels missing, and that something is the reflection of love that used to flow through us. So don't underestimate the power of our neutrality. It's not indifference, it's actually medicine. So, the new divine feminine template, it's not about emotional endurance, it's about energetic precision. We no longer need to prove our love through pain. We no longer mistake chaos for chemistry, and we can no longer equate attention with value. We are the calm in our divine masculine storm, but not because we have waited for him to change. We are calm because we have changed. Peace is the new seduction, self trust is the new magnetism, and embodiment is the new devotion. When we stand in that energy, we stop begging for recognition because our frequency already commands it. So, when we truly outgrow the version of us who needed Him, something beautiful happens. Gratitude returns. We no longer resent our divine masculine for the pain. We start seeing that every tear sculpted our sovereignty. We recognize that his rejection was divine redirection. We don't want revenge, closure, or control. We want peace. And peace, my loves, is the highest frequency of love there is. At this stage, we bless our divine masculines, not from superiority, but from completion. We whisper in our heart, Thank you for helping me find myself. So, as we delve deeper, I want you, I want to take you to the second part of this discourse, where we are returning to ourselves and rewriting the love, right? So, if you've reached this part of your journey, you're not collapsing, you're stabilizing. In part one, we were talking about outgrowing the emotional dependency phase. Part two is about becoming the self that replaces it. So, when we detach from our divine masculine, the field reorganizes. We start to feel the silence between heartbeats, not as loss but as clarity. And this is where our energy stops chasing reflections and starts building reality. It's uncomfortable at first because our consciousness has space again, and space always feels strange after obsession. But that space is sacred, it's the womb of our next timeline. So, the sacred grief of identity, the grief that follows attachment, isn't heartbreak, it's an identity death. We are mourning the women, who lived a life orbiting somebody else's potential, right? So we are grieving the fantasy version of our divine masculine who held us, who whom we had held in our heart for years, and we're releasing that emotional architecture that once defined love as longing. And this grief is not setback, it's an initiation. It's the moment our inner child realizes that the rescue story is over. We no longer want saving, we want sovereignty. That's why it's okay to cry, but understand that these tears are cleansing old programming. Every tear says, I release the pattern of needing to be chosen to feel valuable. So, what is the nervous system of the new feminine, right? As we evolve, our body undergoes a literal energetic recalibration. Our heart chakra, once stretched outward, starts spinning inward again. Our energy that used to flow towards our divine masculine now circulates through our own system. We feel it as new vitality, new focus, new creativity. Suddenly, things that used to trigger anxiety now feel irrelevant. Irrelevant, right? We don't need to over explain ourselves. We no longer check if he's online. We stop replaying the last text. What's happening is physiological, right? Our parasympathetic system has become the new leader. We are shifting from reaction to response, which I often talk about in my discourses, right? Why is it important to respond, not react? And when that happens, our magnetism multiplies, not because we are trying, but because you're becoming whole. So now that our field has closed its old leaks, he begins to feel the silence, not the silence of punishment, but the silence of peace. And that silence is deafening for a soul that once relied on our emotional energy as proof of love. So, this is when our divine masculine starts thinking about us in the strangest moments. He dreams of us when his rational mind insists he has moved on. He sees our name in patterns again, not because we are calling, but because his higher self is now pulling the same frequency that we had released. This is the karmic boomerang effect, the energy that we once poured out now returns to cosmic consciousness through him. And he must decide whether to evolve or retreat. Either way, we're already ascending that loop. So that's why we are moving from emotional laborer to energetic architect. In the early stages, we were the emotional laborer, right? Constantly healing, holding, and decoding our divine masculine's energy. Now we have become the architect. We start building life on truth, not potential. We create, serve, travel, teach, and express ourselves as a sovereign being. Our energy no longer depends on whether he sees our worth. We are no longer the characters in a storyline. We are the author of our own. And that shift terrifies the old masculine energy, but it liberates the new one, because only when, as the divine feminine, when we rise into full embodiment, can our divine masculine rise into purpose. So, outgrowing isn't just emotional maturity, it's soul technology, right? Every time we reclaim our energy from an outdated identity, the quantum field updates. New possibilities become available. The universe says, I'm no longer vibrating at the frequency of chasing. Let's align her with partnership, not pursuit. And that's when miracles happen. New opportunities, new people, new flows. Sometimes, even when our divine masculine returns, he's not the same person anymore. He must now vibrate at the level of our truth. If he doesn't, the field will naturally keep us apart, not as punishment, but as precision. So many people confuse unconditional love with unconditional tolerance. So, this is what I keep talking about. Don't, please. Outgrowing our divine masculine doesn't mean we have stopped loving him. It means our soul recognizes that love is not enough without resonance. Love is the raw material, resonance is the structure. Without resonance, love leaks. Without alignment, it delays. So, when we are feeling detached, remind yourself you're not losing love, you're refining it. You are turning raw devotion into crystalline discernment. That's spiritual mastery, which brings us to the rebirth of self respect. Self respect is not ego, it's sacred containment. It's the energetic boundary that tells the universe, my love is infinite, but my access is earned. The version of us who needed our divine masculine would settle for crumbs because we confuse self sacrifice with devotion. So, this version of us who has grown knows that mutuality is holy, right? We stop romanticizing pain. We stop making excuses for emotional unavailability, and we stop treating neglect as mystery. This is the turning point where love becomes adult, not transactional, but responsible. We stop needing intensity and start craving integrity. So now let's address the paradox, right? When we no longer need our divine masculine, that's when the field for reunion truly opens. Why? Because need was resistance. Our longing was actually keeping him away vibrationally by affirming lack. Once we dissolve that, the magnetic pole equalizes. So if he returns, it won't be because we pulled him in, it's because we stopped repelling him through need. Our neutrality is the open gate, and if he doesn't return, our peace will tell us he was the teacher, not the destination. Either way, we win. So we, as the divine feminine, when we outgrow need, we birth the third energy, right? This is the frequency that exists beyond us. You know, it's the combined energy field that serves not only us, that unique combined energy field that is only between, us and our divine masculine on a monadic twin flame journey. It serves the planet too. We start noticing synchronicities that aren't about reunion but about mission. We begin anchoring love frequencies into our work, our words, our art. We are no longer waiting for our divine masculine to awaken. We are awakening the grid through our embodiment. And because energy never lies, he feels it too. He may not say it, but somewhere in his subconscious, he knows that we have become the living proof of what's meant to be. So that's why when he sees us again, and the day is coming when your paths will cross again in this lifetime. You will look into your eyes and sense something he cannot explain. He will feel the love, yes, but also the distance. Because we now carry the frequency of freedom, right? We'll realize we no longer revolve around him. We revolve around the divine. And that realization may break his ego, but it will awaken his soul. So we don't need to say anything. Our energy will speak the truth. I've loved you enough to grow beyond you. And that's the new definition of union. True union is not two halves merging, it's two wholes vibrating in harmony. The whole paradigm said you complete me. The new paradigm says you complement my wholeness. You complement my wholeness. So that's why we no longer chase reunion, because we are the reunion. Every breath we take in authenticity sends ripples through the collective field, because we are teaching others how to love without losing ourselves. So, after you've outgrown the need based version of yourself, you enter what I call the still flame phase. This is the calm after the karmic storm. We are not seeking signs or confirmations anymore. We trust that what's meant for us will align in divine timing. In this phase, as the divine feminine, we radiate quiet power. We don't announce our growth, we we become our growth, right? Our light no longer flickers with our divine masculine's moods. It burns steadily from the core of our soul, and that stability becomes the highest vibration of love, unwavering, unconditional, self anchored, and freedom, right? So when we integrate that level of evolution, the cosmos responds. Our soul contracts shift, new timelines appear, new missions unlock, and this is when we meet soul allies, right? This is when we actually meet like other mission buddies as well. This is when we start remembering our journey more and more and more. And this is when we eventually meet our divine masculine in a higher expression, because energy doesn't disappear, it upgrades. So, our divine masculine, our beloved divine masculine, who once triggered our pain, may now appear to learn from our peace. And us, the divine feminine, becomes the frequency teacher, not through preaching, but through presence. So, the final stage of outgrowing, like I mentioned earlier, is gratitude, right? Not forced gratitude, genuine thankfulness for the entire journey. So, you begin to understand that his rejection refined us, right? Our divine masculine silence taught us to listen inwardly. His absence made us our own home. We no longer look back with bitterness, we look back with reverence, because without that chapter, we would have never become this version of ourselves, the self who no longer begs for love, because we have become love, we are embodying love. So, to wrap up, you don't hate your divine masculine. You've simply remembered yourself. And once a woman remembers who she is, the universe rearranges around her. So walk with grace, keep your heart open, but your boundaries sacred. Let love flow through you, not drain from you. And know that every time you choose yourself, you're writing a new collective template for divine union on earth. So, guys, if this discourse resonated with you, it's because your soul is signaling readiness. And readiness is gratitude from the cycle of emotional dependency into frequency of sacred autonomy. Remember, you don't hate your divine masculine. You've simply evolved beyond the part of you who believed you needed him to feel whole. To feel whole. So that version of you served that purpose, and that's what got you here. So now it's time to honor that version of yourself and move forward, because from this place of wholeness, reunion isn't a miracle, it's a byproduct, right? And with that, you will realize how sacred and how important this journey is, and how crucial every aspect of this journey is, right? So I want you to take a moment to reflect and think about it. So, with that, if you need more guidance, clarity, confirmation, and truth about your twin flame journey, you can book the one-on-one twin flame guidance, psychic guidance session via the link below. And here we can explore anything your soul history, what's going on with your connection right now, what you're feeling, what your DM is feeling, everything. All right. All my sessions are conducted by me one on one via video call, via Zoom. It's live, so you can ask me all the questions that you need during the session. I've also introduced another important healing and activations, the Saturn and Jupiter retrograde rare twin flames healing and activations, also in the link in the description. All right. Remember, every one of your session is for you, all right? So it will be a blend of the Akashic records, psychic insight, energy reading, aura reading, cosmic guidance, multidimensional guidance, and everything. All right. So you can ask me all the questions you want. With that, I've also been introducing more new healings and activations. Do check out my website. I also highly recommend the healings on featured and also the other healings. You can have a look. Again, many of you ask me what healing to do. Go with your intuition always. Remember, external teachers like me are here to remind you, to awaken, to rekindle the inner teacher within you. So always trust God, trust your intuition, and remember, all the answers are within. All right. So remember to awaken your internal teacher. Remember to seek guidance from your higher self and God always. With that, I hope you have enjoyed this discourse. So remember this, right? If you've made it this far, breathe, because this is what liberation feels like. Quiet, centered. It's victory in peace, not triumph in noise. So don't hate your divine masculine, because we are simply ascending the timeline where love meant losing ourselves. And now this is what it is, right? Soul remembrance, not rescue. So every time your mind tries to revisit the old loop, remind yourself gently that you're not her anymore. And you're the after version, the one who learned that longing was never proof of love, presence is. So when you reach this point, union becoming stops being an outcome you chase. It becomes an energy you embody. And from that embodiment, life itself starts loving you back in ways you have never imagined. So stay steady in peace, let your silence be sacred, and know this with every heartbeat. The version of you who needed him built the bridge, the version of you who no longer needs him walks across it. And on the other side, only truth remains. So thank you for being here, watching this discourse, for healing, for expanding, for showing the world what it looks like when an empowered divine feminine remembers the divinity. So until next time, I'll see you all again. I hope you have enjoyed this discourse, and I'll talk to you all soon. Love you all and take care, and blessings, blessings, blessings always.